here's what we see. I mean, people are already losing their job. I think there are
Yeah.
a lot of companies who are out there saying they're painting sunshine and rainbow about where things are going with AI, and I personally don't buy it. Like, I think we're already seeing impacts. We've lived through this. You and I've been in the workforce long enough. We've seen the impacts of automation. We've
Yeah.
seen how,
Mhm.
but we've also seen how it does open up new jobs. So I think I live in the middle of, like, I don't think that what we're coming for is really the loss of a ton of jobs from the marketplace. As a matter of fact, I would just say, when we look at what's happening with our population, AI could save us in a number of areas where our population is dwindling. And
Okay.
so we're going to have less people. Unfortunately, it's the jobs where we most need hands-on that AI is not going to solve some of those problems. We need nurses more than ever. We need healthcare. We need plumbers and mechanics. We need people who are able to put their hands on things. Those are not the jobs that are going away for sure. But
Yeah.
I do think smart companies are, I mean, I'm having these conversations, literally, I'm having these conversations with HR leaders on a weekly basis where they're saying, okay, what are the skills that we're going to need to build so that we can keep the workforce around, like, so that we're ready for whatever transition comes in the future.
Hmm.
So I do think the job impacts are going to be significant. I think they're going to come in pockets, right? Like, I don't think we're
Okay.
talking about slashing 10% of the workforce. I think we're going to see, quarter after quarter kind of roles changing. And I see companies, a lot of companies who are already doing the good work of not having to eliminate roles by moving people around, shuffling them, focused on internal mobility and, like, transforming their own workforce. But I do think we're going to see some fundamental
Yeah.
shifts
I just
that,
saw, I think LinkedIn had an article yesterday where white collar jobs of certain kinds that they had white collar jobs was kind of the umbrella, but then there was three or four categories underneath that, and they were talking about how the job postings for those were down like 20% or something like that. And yeah, hey, if your job is typing on a keyboard and moving a mouse around, you might want to you should be paying attention to as to what's going on.
yeah, for sure. You should be building some net new skills in the durable
Yes,
space. You should be
yes,
doing it with AI.
totally agree.
This is where you disrupt yourself or you get
Yep,
disrupted.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
yeah,
I couldn't agree more. I was just going to say, you know, I've asked that question that I asked you with just about every guest over the last 4 or 5 months, 6 months. I basically started asking the question ever since ChatGPT 4 came out, and I used it one morning and said, "Oh shit, the world just changed."
yeah,
But what was I going to say? Oh, you know, tell me how you feel about this prediction. I do think we're going to see lots of jobs affected, and I think eventually new jobs will be created. There'll be different
yeah,
things that we can't even really foresee right now, right? Like, just there'll be creation, I think. What I'm worried about is the speed of this change is coming so fast that there'll be this short, messy period before we get people retrained and regrouped through companies like Guild. And they'll be like, and so there will be a short term, messy disruption before things become okay. That's kind of what I'm worried about. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
yeah. I do think I want to go back to the last topic. So I was popping up a research paper that I read last month that I think is really good. So here's the headline. This is from Lightcast. They're a economic model software. The number of postings for top AI related occupations: software developer, systems engineer, data analyst. These are the jobs that are being most impacted. Non-tech jobs: writer, SEO specialist, researcher, product manager, technical sales rep. Those are some of the jobs. I think that, like, that disconnect between the two. So the question you just asked, uh, I think we're already in some of the messy
Agreed.
pieces
Agreed.
right now,
Agreed. Yep.
um,
Hmm.
and it's not too disruptive. Right. Here's where I think it's messy. I don't think it's messy necessarily from a, like, large scale. what's happening across the economy. I don't like that's not what's happening. I think where it's messy is in boardrooms, right? I think where it's messy is
Okay.
senior executives trying to make decisions about what they're going to adopt and when, and how much risk they're willing to take on and where,
Mm,
right? Like there are going to be things, there are going to be areas like insurance where it just makes a ton that computational need in the AI space. You're going to want to move there quickly. But they've been in this disruption for a really long time from a technology standpoint.
mm,
So I think the messiness comes from boardrooms who are trying to make decisions about where do you invest first, where do you accept risk, and what do you do with talent so that you're ready for whatever is
right.
coming with
Yeah.
both with all of those things. I
Yeah.
think that's where it's going to get messiest.
Yeah. If and I want to get into Guild and have you do an overview, but yeah, in general,
Yeah.
you said it well. Like you need to what are the right words? Pivot a little bit, retrain yourself, get some skilled trade. Just make sure the easiest way to think about it in layman's terms, as far as I'm concerned, is this. Whatever it is you're doing for a living, pay attention to how well the large language models can do that task.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you play around with the large language models and they're doing it faster and better than whatever you were doing, then you're in trouble. Like you need to pay attention. That's the best way to think about it.
Yeah.
You know, for example,
Well,
if I had a young teenage kid, all my kids are grown, but if I had a teenager saying, "Oh yeah, hey dad, I'm going to be a copywriter," I'd be like, "No, no, you're not."
yeah, no. I mean,
Yeah,
even the field that I'm in, a lot of my role at Guild is really to understand what is happening in the market, right? I've been a
yes,
practitioner in the
yeah,
HR space. I've worked at, with different products, sat on their advisory boards, and my job aggregating data out of reports and trying to find the novel insights that I can bring back to my company and then, in a thought leadership capacity, share with our customers and prospects. Um, I saw really quickly that we could get to maybe 60% with a GPT of things that and here's where the danger comes, Steve, is a lot of those things, those areas for me in particular, they're areas that I would have asked like junior level analysts around me to take a first stab at. Hey, can you read this report? I would love your thoughts. Give me a first pass. Go ahead and draft some language
mhm,
on
mhm,
how we should talk about those things. Now I'm going to a GPT. We have one behind our firewall at Guild. And I'm going to the GPT. I'm feeding in the information and I'm asking it to take the first pass at that thing. And so there's a little danger for somebody like me. It's more like speed up my work and then that 60% version, then I can just take and massage. What really is concerning for me is that you don't have some of those junior level positions start to disappear where people are building the skills they need to become your leaders in the future, right? You kind of hollow out the middle.
mm,
The shape of a lot of workforces is actually a bit
mm,
like an
mm,
hourglass.
mm,
You have a
mm.
large frontline workforce, you have
Yes.
a
Yeah.
fairly senior level of
Hmm.
individual contributor, but there's like this really narrow movement into those kind of jobs. And that's where I think the risk is with AI from a white
Agreed.
collar.
Yeah, that's a good.
You
It's a
can
great way to look
hollow it
at it.
out.
Yeah, totally. Totally appreciate that explanation. Last thing on on this AI topic there is, I always love it when I'll get my friends and we'll be talking about something and they'll say, "Yeah, well, Chat GPT or whatever, Gemini, it's not perfect every time, and it misses this or this." I'm always like, bro, okay, so what do you say? You're saying that human beings are perfect with all of their decisions, but you're gonna run ChatGPT through 1,000 test questions and it misses one, and so you think that's a
Yeah,
reason
yeah.
not to use it? Like, what are you talking about? And by the
Right. I've
and,
I've sat and had drinks with you when you complained about your coworkers. Please
y-
spare me. The
yeah,
GPT is not
spare
working
me,
for
like,
you. Yeah.
please. It's like, and by the way, bro, it's gonna get better.